So, this is Chris Wilson. This is Dark Patterns. Are your games playing you? I made another video we reacted to before where I talked through a lot of stuff. Obviously, the previous Path of Exile, one creator, and then with Path of Exile 2, but then he left the studio a couple years ago and has just been kind of doing his own stuff.
What's up, YouTube?
So, yeah, he's been making some videos here that are just interesting. And this was one people have been talking about. So let's
Years
give it
ago,
a
a friend of mine carried a laptop 6 kilometers through the bush just to log into a game and keep a daily login streak alive. That's not fun. That's not entertainment. That's a dark pattern. Hi, I'm Chris Wilson. In this video, I want to show you how some modern games manipulate your schedule, your wallet, and even your friendships. You may have heard the term dark pattern before. It refers to a design that deliberately manipulates user behavior, usually to get those users to spend money or engage more than they intended. A classic example is a hotel site flashing scarcity cues like, only one room left, 4 people are booking right now. You also see services that are easy to sign up for but hard to cancel. Confirm shaming buttons that say, I'd rather pay full price. Optional extras like shipping insurance being automatically added to your shopping cart, or pop-ups that say, don't leave yet, you have unpurchased items.
Aren't these like illegal in the EU, a lot of them? I don't know why so many of these aren't just illegal worldwide. They totally should be, right? I know there's some places where like your sign up has to be as easy as your like leaving. And like, man, that makes sense, right? Come on, man.
Patterns like these are increasingly common, to the point where regulators and consumer groups are starting to push back. Today I want to talk about a less discussed form of dark patterns, and that's their use in the games that we play and make. Given how much money is made by the games industry, it's no surprise that some developers are applying psychological principles to the reward systems of their games to manipulate players into engaging more. In this video, I'm not talking about gameplay systems that are intentionally addictive or immersive. That's part of the entertainment you signed up for. I'm talking about the meta systems. Monetization tricks, retention loops, psychological hooks, and UI traps that manipulate you outside of the actual gameplay. Another way to look at this is, if a developer focuses on making a game as compelling as it possibly can be, and it ends up really fun, interesting, and makes players want to play it again and again, then that developer won't need to rely on manipulative psychological tricks to artificially improve their metrics.
But so many go the other way. I mean, that's literally what I was just saying, like, before we started this. If you just make a really good game, then you don't have to rely on these tricks. But so many of these companies have just decided to change. They're like, well, instead of making a good game, because that's really hard, let's just do the psychological stuff instead. And it's so messed up.
Okay, enough preamble. Let's get into some dark patterns. So, like with non-game products, user interface dark patterns are common. For example, some mobile games ask you to rate them out of 5 stars. If you pick 5, you're sent straight to the App Store to leave a review. Anything less sends you to a developer feedback form instead. This quietly biases actual...
What? That's insane! How is that not illegal? Wow, I didn't even realize that. I mean, I never do any of the rating, I just always do like, shut up, but that's crazy.
Reviews towards higher ratings by making lower scoring reviews harder to leave. Another example of a user interface dark pattern is a game that allows you to spend real money to level up gems that can be socketed into your gear. But players might find that once they have completely maxed out a gem at great expense, more sockets appear, requiring them to spend more money than they initially intended to completely max out their character. This moving of the goalposts could potentially manipulate players into thinking they were going to complete their character for one price when it actually costs a lot more. They may not have committed to spending as much if they knew that from the start. Dark patterns in games extend...
There's so much stuff with like the pay to win world of it. How much they like ramp things up. How ridiculous, like it'll be like all the materials and you'll get all of them, but then there's always the one material that's really, really rare and hard to get. So you feel like, oh, I have everything I need. I just need this one more thing. There's so many like things like that.
Far beyond just deceptive user interfaces though. They're typically categorized as temporal, social, psychological, and monetary dark patterns. I've put some links to some of my references that have comprehensive lists in the video description, but I'll go through a few of the major ones with you right now. Before we get started, I should note that pretty much any mechanism that tries to manipulate a change in user behavior is considered a dark pattern in games, but the severity varies a lot. Some of them are much more mild than others, and with a lot of different opinions about which of them are harmless and which are going too far. I'll weigh in with my personal feelings about this later in the video. Many live service games have daily login rewards. In behavioral psychology, when an action is followed by a reward, your brain learns to repeat it. Every day that you log in and receive this reward, you'll get a hit of dopamine, building a habit over time. Players who are conditioned to logging in every day do it not because they're excited to play, but because it feels like brushing their teeth, just something they have to do. Some games have login streaks. This is where the rewards escalate for each sequential day you log in. When you break the streak, your rewards reset back down to the minimum level. Now, humans have a strong sense of loss aversion, where losses feel roughly twice as bad as gains feel good, and hence players will go significantly out of their way to avoid breaking these streaks. As I mentioned before, I have a friend who was on an off-the-grid camping trip and had to walk 6 kilometers with his laptop and a 3G modem so he could keep a login streak going in some random game he was playing.
That's definitely, where it goes too far. And like so many games use this one. The daily login that gets you more and more every single time. And if you break it, it feels so bad. You're like, oh. The addiction, it's Lost Ark was bad for that. Yeah, there's a lot of games use this. And it's so annoying. Because again, you don't feel like you're actually trying to be they're not trying to get you to play the game. They're just trying to get you to be addicted to it. You feel it. You're like, oh.
There are even games out there that let you pay real money to restore a broken streak. In addition to daily login bonuses, many games have daily tasks or challenges which reset every 24 hours. Players feel obliged to complete these so that the easy rewards don't go to waste. They don't want to miss out on cheap progress that everyone else is getting.
I actually don't hate dailies in some capacity. There are some dailies that go way too far. And it's like so much value, or a daily that, again, like you said before, compounds and compounds, and you're getting more and more and more. And I feel like those can be way too much. I've definitely played games that have dailies and it's really annoying. But I've also played games that have dailies and they're just nice because they're just fun, silly dailies. You can spin this wheel, or you can do whatever. And it doesn't give you more than, a small, tiny thing, right? A majority of the time, it's yeah, I could go farm that same thing in 5 minutes if I really wanted, or less. So it's having fun dailies around the world like that, I think can be interesting and can be fun. But they can't really provide more than 5-10 minutes of work within the game. If the daily is providing hours of work in just a quick little hit, then it's rough. If it doesn't feel natural at all, then I feel like it's rough. But if it was Diablo 2, once a day you could let's say once a day you could use an imbue from Charcy. I don't think that'd be terrible. If I miss a day of an imbue, whatever, right? Imbues are usually garbage anyways. But if I am playing every single day, okay, I can go imbue a diadem or something. I have to have found a white diadem to go do it with. It'd be better on Classic for sure. But overall, it's finding a rare item, Yeah, I could just go find a rare item. Now, again, I get to make it a diadem, but I have to have found a white diadem, I don't think an imbue a day would be one of those broken dailies. But if my daily was I get a jade figurine every day and I get to gain 20 life, well, obviously that'd be broken and stupid, Or if I could kill Radaman every day and get a book of skill, okay, yeah, that'd be dumb. There's plenty of ways where it can get not good. But if it's worth 5 to 10 minutes of work in a game, I don't think dailies are that bad.
Some games rely on dark patterns rooted in social obligation to manipulate you into behaving differently. For example, it's common for mobile base builder games to have guilds or clans where daily participation, like doing quests or donating resources, is important for your guild to succeed. If you don't log in each day and perform these actions, you let your friends down, which causes guilt and social pressure for you to be active daily. This dark pattern can exploit and strain our friendships, especially when the game is tuned to make daily participation essentially mandatory. Other games feature gifting between players, where reciprocation of gifts is rewarded with extra bonuses. This taps into reciprocity pressure to cause you to feel the need to log in daily and return gifts to people. Some games have refer a friend bonuses, or even outright pyramid schemes, where you make faster progress if you have recruited an extensive network of friends to join the game and play with you.
Wow.
Time-gated tasks, or playing by appointment, are when a game tells you have to come back at a specific time or face consequences. Popularized by farming games where your crops would wither and die if not harvested at the right time, the game forces control of your schedule, sometimes making you wake up in the middle of the night to click buttons or lose your investment. Contemporary mobile games often have timers and energy mechanics, where your ability to progress the game is blocked until you come back when these resources have regenerated. While this is less harsh than your crops being completely lost, you'll feel pressure to come back at exactly the right time to maximize your rate of progress. When you're not the one deciding when you play the game, but instead having the game decide for you, it's worth questioning your entire relationship with that game.
That's a really, really good point. There are a lot of games, and this is especially true in the mobile games, where it's time-based. Okay, this building is building, and in 4 hours, it'll be done. In 8 hours, it'll be done. Your mind instantly goes, I got to remember in 4 or 8 hours to get on so I can be efficient, so I can upgrade this building again. And, it's so easy. It's so easy to think like that. But it just, again, you're not deciding when to play. The game is telling you when to come back and play again. It's a really interesting point.
Some live service games create artificial scarcity for their store items. As entirely digital purchases, there's no physical requirement to limit the number of people who can purchase something, but doing so often causes it to sell much faster due to players fearing they're going to miss out. This pattern is similar to the one employed in gacha games, where they often have certain characters available for purchase only occasionally, causing a frenzy of activity when they are. Not only does this cause more sales, but it conditions players to check in with the game daily to see if the character they want is available for sale. There are a variety of dark patterns related to premium currency in games. Developers can design their premium currency packs to be slightly too small to buy the most desirable items, requiring players to purchase more premium currency at once than they plan to. Developers can pick arbitrary exchange rates for their premium currency, so that players can't really understand the true cost of the item they're buying. Cheap items can be placed next to expensive items in the store to make them look like better value. Some games employ special in-game or monetization events that are time-limited or seasonal. The content and rewards are only available for a limited time window. Players do not want to miss out on a unique reward that may never be available again, so this limited availability causes fear of missing out, which leads to intense and anxious play during the event window. There's also a phenomenon called the endowed progress effect, which shows that if players are given a head start on a reward track, then they are far more likely to finish the rest of that track so that they don't waste the progress they have so far, even though they didn't even make that progress themselves.
Wow,
it's a bit like the sunk cost fallacy. This is why some Battle Pass schemes start with the first items already completed, or have some really easy ones that are inadvertently completed while playing. This manipulates players into committing to complete a reward track that they may not have chosen to attempt without the free bump of progress at the start. So we've gone through a bunch of different dark patterns, and some of them seem pretty user hostile. You may be wondering, why would developers pollute their live service games with all this crap? Well, there are several answers to that question, and the first is that it works. These techniques are all highly effective. They produce the desired outcomes. They manipulate well-understood psychological principles that our human brains are vulnerable to. The second reason is that players generally tolerate many of these design patterns pretty well. Have a look at the games you play and see what techniques they're using from this video. Ask yourself if these are a big enough deal that you'll quit playing the game entirely over them. Chances are you're still playing the game despite the presence of these manipulative elements. Another important reason is mindshare. There are a lot of live service games out there, and players have a limited amount of free time. If a game doesn't have all of the addictive hooks and manipulative retention mechanisms we discussed, then its players may find themselves compulsively logging into other games to complete daily tasks and forget to play this one.
Yep.
There are also foreign publishers.
Wow.
When a game releases and is popular in its home regions, publishers from other countries approach the studio and offer to localize and market the game in their region. But in order to take the risk of investing in license fees and marketing costs, the publisher is going to want to make sure the game is as sticky and lucrative as possible. The publisher dares not suggest changes to the actual game itself, as the game is already proven to be good. So the only way they have to juice the retention and monetization is through meta systems, which very easily stray into dark pattern territory. Finally, the entire games as a service industry measures the value of a game as a function of its daily active user count and its retention rates. If you're making a live service game, you're only going to be able to get funding if you have a solid plan to retain your users. That plan probably ends up involving some number of these dark patterns, because you have to compete against other games using these techniques. If you have a publisher or investor involved, they're probably going to want to see industry benchmarked retention and return from your game, and that is benchmarked against other games that are packed full of dark patterns. If you refuse...
That always goes to exactly how I felt with Diablo 4. Which, I know Diablo 4 like has some dark patterns, but even isn't as bad as many. But the idea of just like, it just feels like they want user retention. You just feel, when I play that game, I just feel used. I feel like they're going to do whatever it is to eke one more second out of me, instead of just making me want to commit. Like when I would play Diablo 2, when I still play Diablo 2, but when I was growing up and I'd play Diablo 2, I didn't have these dark patterns. But I would be up at 4 in the morning playing because I just wanted to play more of the game. I just loved playing the game. I'd go to bed and I'd wake up early so I could rush over to play more Diablo 2 before school started. You know, like, I just wanted to play the game. And now, like you're saying, the games kind of play you. And it feels like they're just trying to force you to just log in one more time. Just spend one more second. And I don't want to spend that second, but I feel like, okay, well, I got this streak going. There's this limited time event. I need to make sure, you know.
Used to use dark patterns in your games, you're effectively competing with games that do use them, while operating at a disadvantage on the metrics that investors care about. This situation really sucks. While by definition, a dark pattern is a design that benefits the developer at the player's expense, some of the techniques mentioned in this video aren't entirely evil, and if clearly communicated and balanced fairly, wouldn't qualify as actual dark patterns. For example, it's pretty clear that escalating login streaks are quite manipulative, because players really want to avoid breaking their streak. But flat daily login rewards might be more acceptable to players because the penalty for not logging in is just missing one day of rewards.
Right.
If those rewards are sufficiently generous and the game is not manipulative elsewhere, players might be happy with that system. There are certainly players who really look forward to daily bonuses or special events in their favorite games and enjoy the structure and rewards that those bring, despite the drawbacks we've talked about. Some developers...
And I mean, again, I think like even having events is great. Like if Path of Exile or Diablo 2 has, 22 Nights of Terror, that's great. It's just like a cool event every December. Sometimes you can make it for some of the days, sometimes you can't. Like, events are cool. You can still do things that are limited in time, but you just can't, again, make it a thing that if you aren't there, then everything is ruined, or you lose out, or there's this massive issue, And again, the daily login, I think daily logins are kind of dumb, just like, for logging in, here's some stuff. But if it's literally just a basic thing, whatever, right? Like daily login, that's fine.
Argue that a little psychological nudge can enhance enjoyment of the game, for example, by encouraging players via rewards to explore parts of the game they wouldn't otherwise try out. Achievement systems are a common example of this. I previously talked about how time-limited events can be manipulative, because they often offer exclusive rewards that require a lot of work to unlock during a narrow time period, and can take advantage of your fear of missing out. This is a problem when the event involves grinding out existing content, but honestly, isn't that bad when the event consists of interesting new content? For example, back in January of 2017, Blizzard celebrated the 20-year anniversary of Diablo 1's release by introducing a special event into Diablo 3. The Darkening of Tristram was an homage to Diablo 1 within the Diablo 3 engine, complete with a pixelization shader and a strict orthographic isometric projection like Diablo 1. Players got to play through this mini version of Diablo 1 with their Diablo 3 characters, and it was honestly pretty cool. Even cynical old me reinstalled Diablo 3 and had a fun time checking it out. It looks like they're still running this anniversary dungeon event annually since then. This was a very well executed example of a time-limited in-game event that was a net win for everyone. I have nothing to complain about that.
100%.
On the other hand, time-limited events that don't introduce new content can be more dangerous. A number of years ago, a fellow game director told me a story about a live service game he was running. He wanted to increase player activity in the gaps between expansions, so he decided to try running a double experience weekend. It was a huge success and saw way more players playing than usual. After the weekend, however, player numbers dipped down below where they were before the weekend, so they ran another double experience weekend the following weekend. You can predict where the story went. After a while, people only played on those special weekends because playing on weekdays felt far less worthwhile in comparison. The game eventually shut down.
I mean, that's a great example of instant gratification. You give people all that boost, but it's fleeting, right? It's a flash in the pan, and then now it's not worth it to play the game at any other time, and so now right? 100%.
While games that overuse dark patterns alienate their users and eventually see the opposite of the good retention they were aiming for, the primary victims of dark patterns are the players themselves. Players affected by dark patterns find themselves compelled into behavior they wouldn't normally perform, whether that's making purchases they hadn't planned for, logging in on days they hadn't intended to play on, grinding content they wouldn't normally choose to grind, referring friends who might not have an interest in the game, or having to set an alarm at 4 AM to tend some crops. These actions have both an impact on their day-to-day life, but also reduce their enjoyment of the actual game itself. They often lead to feelings of anxiety, fear of missing out, commitment pressure, guilt, and frustration. The scary thing is, I'm an adult in my 40s who has spent his career working in live service games. I deeply know all about these tricks and still find them affecting me far more than I'm comfortable with. Imagine what it's doing to kids who are incredibly vulnerable to the constant bombardment of gambling, compulsion, addiction, loss aversion, and anxiety-inducing dark patterns that these games contain.
Yeah. I mean, this is two pieces. One, this is actually why, in a way, I stopped doing my original Holy Grail, was because the dark pattern, whatever, of Terrazone and Dario being so good, and Terrazone Mephisto being so good, that it wasn't worth playing the game in any other Terrazone, or Magic Finding at any other time, because the rewards were too high from those two. Why would I bother? So we saw it in that, but also the second point is the biggest and best point, which is, think of the kids, right? Like, children, I'm susceptible to all these things. Children have no chance. They're just getting absolutely decimated. It's messed up.
So far in this video, I've tried to offer a relatively neutral take on the pros and cons of these game design patterns. While they're called dark patterns and have a high potential for abuse, I've explained that some of them are moderately harmless if used in a way that provides a lot of value for players. But if you're watching my channel, you probably want my actual opinion on all of this. I put a lot of thought into this area because I used to run a live service game, and I frequently had to make decisions related to what design patterns were used for meta systems, retention mechanics, and monetization. So here's my current take on this topic. First of all, I think that pretty much everything is fair game in terms of the actual design of the game itself. If a game is targeted at adults rather than children, I don't have a problem with people leaning on behavioral psychology research when designing the actual gameplay of the game and its reward systems within the game.
Interesting.
Make your games fun. Make them compelling. Make people want to play them and want to return to them for their own merits. Your job as a game designer is to make a really fun game, and understanding how the human brain works is important for that. Players becoming invested in your game and deeply caring about their progression is a good thing. It's why people play games. But I draw the line at deploying dark patterns because they are related to retention systems, meta progression, and monetization. When I'm playing a game, I don't want to have a fear of missing out that makes me feel like I have to play frantically during time-limited events. I don't want to have to log into the game every single day to avoid breaking some stupid streak. I don't want to have to do some minimum amount of activity every day, otherwise I miss out on bonuses. I don't want to have to spam my friends to remind them to log in, otherwise I miss out on rewards. I hate all of this bullshit. When I was growing up, games were designed to be fun, not manipulative. They didn't have literal behavioral scientists and psychologists on staff trying to rewire my brain. Look, I love the economic and competitive aspects of live service online games, but I just don't find myself enjoying most modern ones. Whenever I see daily tasks, seasonal events, and all the exclusivity FOMO, I just lose all hope that I'll actually enjoy playing the game, because I know that it'll be playing me. If you're a...
mic drop right there. Like, yeah. It's why every modern game, or almost every modern game, I just like You know, it's just exhausting because it's just always trying to like bring me back, but not because, oh, I love the game and I miss the game and I want to play the game. Just like, oh, here's another carrot.
Developer and really want to add retention mechanisms without straying too deeply into dark patterns, what can you do? Well, first of all, you should try to make your game as fun as possible on its own merits, before relying on external meta mechanics to try to add engagement. Once you've done this, it's a matter of transparency, fairness, and respect for your players. Transparently communicate how things work and what players have to do in plain language. Avoid hidden gotchas that players are unaware of. For example, if you're using loot boxes, clearly communicate their drop rates. Try to ensure that optional challenges reward effort rather than attendance. Make sure that time-limited events last long enough for real-life schedules. Carefully consider whether rewards should be exclusive or whether you should have the event return with the same rewards later, giving players a chance to get them if they miss out this time. It's worth thinking about the concept of time-agnostic gaming. Try not to care about when a player plays your game. Some people can't game every day, but have lots of time available on the weekends. It's unfair if the progress they make is slower than someone who manages to log in every day to claim some type of login reward.
That's actually a big thing with Llama RPG. There are no limited time events that will never exist again in the future because I absolutely hate the idea of someone coming in and going, yo, that skin's awesome, or yo, where did you get that awesome hat, or whatever it is. And they go, oh, well, you just had to be here 3 years ago to get it. Cool. So I just can't ever get it. It's like my biggest, oh, I hate it so much. Like, oh, cool, yeah. Oh, you had to play in this one section. Oh, when you didn't have time. Yeah. None of that. If there's any of that, you can get it again in the future.
Would. So that's been a tour through the dangerous world of dark patterns. As game developers, we have an obligation to think very carefully before we employ strategies like these. Push back and make sure that the reason you're adding something is because it's actually adding more fun, rather than because it'll artificially create more retention or juice some other metric. As gamers, we also have an obligation to push back. If you want more game in your games and less bullshit, make sure that you communicate this to developers. Your money and attention are precious. Spend them wisely. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and see you next time. A few years ago, a friend of...
Good job, Chris. That was a nice video. Yeah, I think you nailed all the important parts. Don't like all of those dark patterns, everything we talked about. You know, how easy they are to manipulate, why all of the creators of all these new games rely on them. And a lot of it comes down to because the games just aren't as fun. I don't want to log into so many new games. Whenever I get an itch to play a game, it's really like Roller Coaster Tycoon or something. You know, it's like way back games. It's rarely these new games because I log in and there's 50 reward tracks to go click all the bonuses to do all these things. And there's this new limited time event and there's this new thing. And it just instantly turns me off. I'm just instantly like, okay, you know. I just want to like play a game that's like really good, just like a lot of fun to play, and that's it. So, I understand how the dark patterns work, and I know that they have worked on me in the past for sure, but I'm very opposed to games with it now. They're like a big turnoff now. Like when I dive into a game and it has those, I'm like, all right, well, I'll play this game for a little bit, but I'm not going to be here long term because I'm not interested in a game that's going to require me to log in every 4 hours, 8 hours, set a timer, do this, get my daily rewards, all, you know, like I'm just not interested in starting the progression of a game with the dark patterns anymore. You know, so yeah, and dark patterns just are all over the world. and every company is just trying to take advantage of us psychologically as best as they can. And it just sucks to see it in games. So, you know, as game dev, I'm hoping myself I will do my best to avoid having them while still having the fun, engaging parts. Like, oh, there's just like a fun Christmas event going on in the game. I think, you know, stuff like that's fun. But, you know, we can try to avoid those pieces, but still, or have fun pieces, but avoid going into the icky parts, because it just doesn't feel good. It just kind of sucks. So well done, Chris. Really, really great talk, and a lot of good points there. Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe, YouTube. Peace.